I'm going to talk about the new thing with the wave-right alpha, which is actually that it's MRI conditional. It is quite important that we have to nowadays really consider MRI conditionality as the gold standard for clinical evaluation and diagnosis. So for most diagnoses, we really need to do an MRI to really treat them properly. I mean, as a neurosurgeon, this is mandatory for me. And since there are lots of new medical devices which have come up to treat various diseases like the SCS systems, the regulatory bodies categorize medical devices in 3 ways actually. So it's the MRI safe, which should never enter an MRI scanning room. Then it's the MRI conditional devices, which may enter the MRI scanner to do an MRI only under very specific conditions provided in the labeling. And the devices can also be considered MRI safe, in which actually there are no safety hazards to do an MRI. So what was the situation with MRI and SCS before 2013? Well, we had an approval for MRI head scans only, which meant that there was an explantation needed of an SCS system when there was indication of an MRI of body parts below the head. And this was, of course, not optimal because there was a physical burden for the patients. They had to have a new and recurrent pain due to the explant and reimplant surgery. And also economic burdens for the health authorities due to the increased costs with the replacement of the devices. So definitely there was a great demand for SCS devices that fulfill the requirements for full body MRI. What's the status today? Well, the first full body MRI conditional SCS system was introduced in 2013. And there have been recent estimations which have indicated that around 80% of SCS patients are expected to require at least one MRI within 5 years after implantation. We did an estimation of our patients which have been implanted during the last 5 years, and 32% of those actually had done an MRI. So I think this is extremely important about the need of MRI. And today, again, full body MRI conditionality is really the gold standard for implanted SCS devices, which is why all the companies are now striving to get there. Just a short thing about how do we actually measure the RF energy which is emitted from the MRI scanner? Well, it's mainly by measuring the specific absorption rate, which is abbreviated SAR. And this is a patient-specific number which is calculated by the MRI machine and estimates the amount of radio frequency energy that the patient, but also the IPG and the leads are subjected to in watts per kilogram. And why is this important? Because if this number is too high, there's a risk for heating of the SCS lead contacts, which means that there might be an injury primarily to the spinal cord. The pros of the SAR, which is mainly used today, is that most MRI technologies are very familiar with this technology. The con might be that it's actually extremely variable from patient to patient, and that's why people are now switching to the root mean square values, which is a much more reliable value. So how does, for instance, spine imaging look like? Well, on the left side, we have the normal mode, which is in this case, the SAR is 1.2 watts per kilogram. And the right side is the low SAR button, which the repetition time has been increased from 3,500 to 5,000 milliseconds. And the SAR is 0.9 watts per kilogram. And basically, there is not much difference between these two images. So the wave-right alpha platform, as we've been talking these days, it's a new universal platform for IPGs, leads, and programming. But one thing which I think is extremely important is that this is the second generation full body MR conditional SCS devices from Boston Scientific after precision montage. So it's important to note that the wave-right platform, which was before the wave-right alpha platform, was actually not MRI compatible, MRI conditional, which I think is now I think much of the requirements have been fulfilled by introducing the Alpha platform. And the image-ready full-body MRI portfolio, this is actually the largest full-body MRI conditional portfolio in SCS, which actually presents all therapies available with both rechargeable and non-rechargeable devices. And this gives you great flexibility to treat various kind of both complex and simple pain by, for instance, using up to 32 contacts, which gives you a possibility to great flexibility to target the proper part of the spinal cord to treat the pain. So the full portfolio now includes all IPGs, and it includes actually all leads. So it's both the Avista leads and all the older type of leads. And it can be done in any combination. I think that the really important thing here is that you can include now previously implanted leads, so you can transfer a system from a non-MRI condition, full body conditional, to a full body MRI conditional. And this gives you a very valuable imaging and also possibility for an optimized programming. So just to summarize, which are the three main elements of MRI conditionality? Well, it's first of all, what do we implant? It's what we implant. Well, it's the IPGs, and it's the type of leads that we do implant, in which we here have the alpha IPGs, which are all MRI conditional. We have the Avista lead, which is MRI conditional, and then we have the older type of leads, which we can make to a system which is MRI conditional. And where is it implanted? Well, for the alpha, the IPGs has to be implanted in the upper buttock lower flank. And very important, the leads have to be implanted in the epidural space. So putting a subcutaneous lead, it's not MRI conditional, so it has to be in the epidural space. And also the third and last thing is that the leads have to be directly connected to the IPG. So no extensions, no adapters, and no splitters. And the last of the three elements is the MRI scanning condition. So we have to have a 1.5 Tesla scanner. We have to take into care the radio frequency power limits. That is the SAR value, which decides that. And also we have to take into consideration the active scan time limits, which is 30 minutes. So let's have just a look to see what it looks like between the various producers of SCS devices. So all of those, as you see here, they have 1.5 T scanners, so there is no 3 Tesla scanner yet. For the leads, you can see that the WaveWriter Alpha actually can include all type of leads and is superior to the other companies. Lead tip location, well, they're all in epidural space. As you can see, Abbott, there is a restriction that the tip has to be T7 to T12, which I think is a disadvantage. IPG location can be upper buttock, lower flank, or the abdomen. So there are three different ways we can put it. The MRI radio frequency power, well, the normal mode, if you do that, if you use the Avista lead with the alpha, you can actually go to normal mode and do the SAR, which is 2.0 watts per kilograms. If you don't have those possibilities to actually calculate the mean square roots, then if you use the older type of leads, then you have to decrease the SAR down to 0.4 watt per kilograms if you connect it to the alpha, and then it will be MRI conditional, full body MRI conditional. And the scan time limits, as you can see, there are 30 minutes for all companies. So in summary, I think that really full body MRI conditioning is the gold standard for SCS treatment today. And this is what nowadays in Europe, I think all health authorities will require to reimburse. If that doesn't fulfill, it's not reimbursed really. And why is that so important? Well, if there is no need for explantation, as it was before, if we needed to do an MRI, then of course it's much better cost effectiveness and less physical burden for the patients considering the pain situation. And I think the great advantage of the WaveWriter Alpha platform is that it features really the largest full body MRI conditional portfolio in SCS, with unprecedented programming capabilities due to the multimodality which we can use when we do the stimulation. So my last slide is really what do I consider is the most valuable thing, my personal experience. We've done several now, quite many of the alpha. We use the alpha systems, and I think the most important thing is that we can use the WaveWriter Alpha to convert a previously non-full body conditional SCS system to a full body MRI conditional system by exchanging the IPG and directly connecting the older type of lead to the alpha IPG, which in that case we have two really great benefits. First of all, that it enables the optimized imaging, which is inferred with the MRI. And the second thing is that we do have the really, really superior improved programming options. Well, thank you. This was what I was going to say, the MRI. Thank you so much.